Okay, so when you think about AI, what comes to mind? Probably Silicon Valley, right? Garages, university labs, that's the story we're always told. Well, today we're going to dig into a very different origin story. One that's, well, a whole lot more secretive.
So, what if that story, the one we all kind of know, isn't the whole truth?
And what if the real story has way less to do with those bright engineers tinkering in a garage and a lot more to do with something older? Something much, much more secretive.
Yeah, that's where we're doing today. We're going to peel back that popular myth and look at the reality. A history that's not really about open innovation, but about secret government programs. Programs with some very specific goals.
All right, so first, let's just quickly recap that official story. You know, the one we've all heard a million times.
The narrative usually goes something like this, right? AI popped up from big tech innovation, super open academic research, and a bunch of brilliant young engineers. And look, that's not totally wrong, but it leaves out a huge piece of the puzzle. It overlooks a much, much deeper history, one that's all about data collection and surveillance.
So let's rewind. Long before AI was something you could talk to on your phone, the real pioneers, they weren't in Silicon Valley. They were government agencies. We're talking defense and intelligence.
And their goals? Oh, they were crystal clear. They weren't trying to build, a better search engine or a fun photo app. No. They were pouring money into systems designed to do one thing: track human behavior, analyze our lives at a massive scale, predict what we'd do next, and basically automate the whole business of intelligence gathering.
Here's a perfect example for you. Ever heard of a DARPA program called LifeLog? Its mission was, it was just breathtakingly ambitious. The idea was to create one single, searchable database of pretty much a person's entire life. We're talking every email, every website you visited, even your physical location.
So the official story is that the program got shut down in 2004. The reason given? Privacy concerns. And for a while, it seemed like that was the end of it.
But, and this is the really important question, did the idea behind LifeLog just disappear? Did those goals just vanish into thin air? Or did they just get privatized? Did they get absorbed by a whole new wave of technology that could do the exact same thing, but this time with us willingly signing up for it?
Okay, this is where the story gets really interesting. Because to see how these government ideas made the leap to the private sector, you've got to do one thing: follow the money and follow the influence.
And this is where let's just say, a very controversial figure enters the story. According to some deep dives into this history, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just a financier. The allegation is that he was a key connector, someone who used his incredibly elite networks to move ideas and talent between these three worlds: government research, top-tier universities, and of course, Silicon Valley.
So what you get is this kind of influence pipeline. Think about it. An idea is born in a government research program. Then it's nurtured and developed in an elite university. And then it gets a fire hose of cash from venture capital. And just like that, these very specific, data-hungry concepts land right in the commercial world.
And this is the absolute key takeaway here. This network wasn't just handing out money. No, it was actively shaping the incentives. It was deciding what kind of AI research got funded and who got access to that money. And guess what they prioritized? Projects that were all about large-scale data analysis.
Which brings us to the real prize in all of this. Because the end game for this network, it wasn't about building slightly better algorithms or faster computers. Nope. It was about something way, way more valuable.
You see, the biggest tech shift in the last 20 years wasn't in hardware. It was the explosion of platforms like Facebook and Google. And why was that such a big deal? Because they cracked the code. They solved the huge data collection problem that a program like LifeLog never could. They made us want to give up our personal data. They made it voluntary and completely unavoidable.
So these platforms, they weren't really just about connecting you with your old high school friends. They were building these incredibly detailed maps of human behavior, your behavior, my behavior. They were logging mapping every social connection, spotting our patterns, and understanding our relationships. All of that became the raw material, the fuel for the predictive AI to come.
So when you look at it from the perspective of these investors, their interest wasn't really in the social media part of social media. It was in the data models that these platforms were building. The exact kind of models you'd need for the large-scale surveillance and prediction that was first dreamed up in those government programs.
Okay, so what? How does all this secret history stuff connect to the AI that you and I use every single day?
Well, the implications are actually pretty profound.
When you put it all together, you see this massive contrast. On the one hand, you have the public story, the stated agenda for AI. We're here to make your life easier. It's all about creative innovation. It's for the benefit of everyone. But then you look at the hidden incentives, the ones baked in from the very beginning, and that's about predicting behavior, influencing decisions, and ultimately controlling the flow of information.
It really comes down to this. A technology's origin story shapes its purpose. Where it comes from, who paid for it in the beginning, that fundamentally determines what it becomes. The priorities we see in today's AI systems, they are a direct echo of the goals of its earliest, most powerful backers.
And just to be super clear, this isn't about some shadowy conspiracy theory with guys in trench coats. It's just an analysis of how power, incentives, and money work. It's about looking at the forces that shape how all technology develops. AI didn't just fall out of the sky. It was built, and it was shaped by some very powerful interests with very specific goals.
So, that leaves us with one last, really big question to think about. If the DNA of modern AI from the very beginning was all about predicting and influencing human behavior, then we have to ask ourselves, in its current form, who does this technology really serve?